Always wanted to be thanks.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Before we get started, I would like to propose a toast to Vice Chancellor Frank Sanchez, as this will be the last meeting of this committee he will be attending. Frank, Frank will be leaving us shortly to take the helm at Rhode Island College. We are grateful for all you have done to improve the lives of every student at the University of New York, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. May you continue improving the lives of many more students. Great. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. I'm taking a sip for all of you.
It's like cider.
What am I drinking here? If you had served champagne at all of the committee meetings before, the applause would have been even louder.
Yes, I think that's worthy of exploration. Okay, so you're very welcome and very deserved. Now I am pleased to welcome committee members and guests to the Committee on Student Affairs and Special Programs meeting. Everyone should have some form of electronic device, an iPad, laptop, iPhone, etc., to access the agenda and other supporting documents for this meeting. There are copies of the agenda and supporting documents on the table if you do not have paperless access at this time. There are 7 action items and 4 information items before the committee. Before we approve the minutes and the items on the policy calendar, I would like to consider information item 2A first because of time constraints. This is a presentation by Coro New York Leadership Center. Ms. Laura Gale, Senior Director of Training and Consulting for Coro, and Chika, everybody knows Chika, Vice Chair for Legislative Affairs for USS. They will now address the committee about the partnership between Coro and the University Student Senate. And just for full disclosure, that is also a board that I sit on. And I'm very, very happy to have you all here. Come forward, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to stand if that's okay. So my name is Laura Gale. As Frida mentioned, thank you so much for the pleasure of being here with you today. I'm going to speak very briefly just to say a few words about Coro New York Leadership Center, what it is, what we do, why I am here before you today, and then I'm going to hand it over to Chika, who's going to tell you the real lowdown, which is what we did together this year and why we think it's really exciting. So I'm going to take a quick moment to pass around some complimentary materials here that will support the comments I'm about to make, and I'll send it with my apologies because I think you'll need to do a little sharing. There may not be quite enough. So to be very brief, I'm going to give a bit of background on Coro New York Leadership Center. So Coro is New York's premier leadership training organization and a community of 2,500 alumni across all sectors, across schools, government, business, nonprofit, labor, and so forth. It is the city's most diverse and influential leadership community, and one that I'm proud to be a part of. And we run 7 in-house training programs for folks who are at many different stages of their career and educational trajectories, from students who are in Coro programs sitting alongside adult decision makers at the policy table, helping to influence the work of bodies like the New York City Council and other important institutions like this one. We were very proud to do some work here this year, which we hope is the beginning of a partnership between Coro and CUNY. So I'll just say very briefly, as the Senior Director of Training and Consulting, my role at Coro is to not work on the in-house programs, but to develop, design, and deliver programs in partnership with other organizations and institutions to give a taste of Coro training to other audiences, folks who are particularly interested and capable and driven to exercise leadership in our city. And something that's very unique about the way Coro does its work is that we're very experiential in nature. So what you will not get in a Coro Coro leadership training is a PowerPoint or a workbook or a class. What you will get, as Chico will probably mention, is a case in point experiential approach, which means that we use the groups that we work with, we use their own group as the case study. So they get to learn in real time about the leadership challenges of their group and how together they might address those and exercise leadership as a unit. So we did some wonderful work together this year, which you'll see summarized in the materials that I sent around, a 2-session training engagement, and we hope that that's just the beginning of more work together. So Chica, I know, is going to say a little bit more about our work together this year.
So good afternoon to all of you. So as Laura had mentioned, Coro, Trustee Foster introduced us to Coro this year to do some leadership training efforts for our newly elected delegation. And this year was a very heavy legislative year. There was a lot of talks about the tuition freeze, there were a lot of talks about the CUNY budget. But one thing we realized as student leaders was that many of our students weren't really coming up to par with where they should be in terms of how to have conversations with elected officials, or how to have conversations on negotiations, or how to understand policy, because they didn't really understand how to lead from the lower levels. And so we were able to partner with Coro and develop 2 series, and many of our delegates, our vice chairs, and other students that were not even student leaders were able to participate. And we held the 2 sessions at Baruch College, one in January, one in February, right before we took our trip to caucus to Albany, right before we went for Somos. And it was a very interesting opportunity, I will say. I was able to work with Laura to kind of gauge the group together. And one thing we did learn is that students enjoyed being able to take part in understanding what USS was, University Student Senate was, and what leadership means, and how can we make our leadership what we want it to be, as opposed to what is just written in a constitution or on paper. And so 2 of our workshop points that I really enjoyed were ones entitled The Vulnerable Learner and Debate versus Dialogue. And in the Vulnerable Learner session, we were able to learn that although we are student leaders, it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to ask questions and to get feedback from those who may know more than you. And together we're able to learn from each other. And in another session, Debate versus Dialogue, we learned the art of communication, which is a very important skill that many of us are still learning, how to communicate when we have issues, or how to communicate when our ideas conflict with each other, and how to resolve and be able to have meaningful dialogue and have meaningful interactions. And so it was very great to learn, very great to see that some students are still coming from the campus levels and they don't really understand what it means to be a student leader. They understand that they have a passion to lead, and they understand that they want to be able to take part in the work that we do here, but there's a lot of leadership training that we do lack. And so I think the partnership with Coro was a beginning. It was a great step forward, and we do hope to partner with Coro coming forward in the coming year to train our newly elected student government leaders.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Laura, and Chica, thank you so much for your presentation. So now we are going to go back to our action items on the agenda. Action item 1A, the approval of meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of April 4th, 2016?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The minutes are.
Aye.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Policy calendar. The first item on our policy calendar is the approval of the Medgar Evers College increase in the student activity fee and establishment of a part-time student activity fee. Vice Chancellor Sanchez, I will turn it over to you to provide us an overview of this.
Great, thank you. So this resolution increases the full-time student activity fee by $35 from $36.45 to $71.45. It also establishes a part-time student activity fee of $46.45. All students previously paid the same fee of $36.45. Thus, this increase will be only $10 for part-time students. The summer session fee will increase by $20 for all students, from $11.45 to $31.45. The referendum provides an across-the-board increase to existing earmarkings such as student government, athletics, child care. It also establishes new local earmarks for orientation, health services, study abroad, differently abled, the Writing Center, and veterans. This is the first increase in the fee since 1994. And so they are bringing up the fee after a couple of decades up to much to closer par of other institutions. Vice Presidents Evelyn Castro and Jerry Posman will represent the college to answer any questions the committee might have.
Are there
Would you like to join? Any questions?
Yes. Hello, hello.
Good, sit over there.
There's a couple.
Sit here.
Donovan.
Yeah, I noticed in the resolve, it says that the vote took a referendum, 72 were in favor, 64 opposed, and 2.1% of the eligible student voters voted. Could you speak a little to that on the student population that participated?
Yes. Well, first of all, I just have to take personal privilege and thank Vice Chancellor Sanchez for his guidance during my time as Vice President. And then secondly, I'd like our student leaders who are here, the incoming President, Asha Newton, to stand, and the outgoing President, Dexter Roberts, who was also Vice President of USS. Could all the students who are here with us please stand? Because they worked on this.
Thank you for your work. Thank you.
So this has been a process for us. This is the second time we've gone through this process. And the voter, what happened is when we did the signatures, we went above 600 signatures. Our campus is small, 7,000 students, to 775 signatures. Then when we got to the voting booth, there were a lot of activities on campus. Hillary Clinton was on campus. There was a lot going on. So we had a little bit of trouble with voter turnout. But the students have worked hard on this, and they're definitely here to show their support.
That's understandable. And I commend the students on the hard work. I understand it is a challenge doing a referendum. One of the concerns that I can raise for the students is that if the majority of the student population at said campus didn't get a chance to express their concern or their opinion on this matter, it can be troublesome. When I see the fee increase for the College Association in particular goes from $7 to $24, and for another fee it goes from $9 to $15. I just want to make sure, because I'm here to represent the students, that the voice at Medgar was heard across the campus.
Right. So what you probably know is that we have many working students and students who are parents. And part of what we do, we consider ourselves an oasis of learning, right? And very much a commuter campus. So when it comes to the different areas where the money will be allocated, the differently able students, we have software and learning technologies that we want to provide for them. For our athletes, we use charter buses to go to events, and we're in Division III, so they play for the love of the sport. And what happens is after a game, they cannot even have dinner. There's no post-game dinner or charter buses. When it comes to the Learning Center, we have a large Haitian population and a large population from the Caribbean. So the Learning Center needs tutors, one-to-one group, and especially work with ESL. All right. The other thing that we're working on is the Child Care Center. The Child Care Center has to have extended hours. They have a rigorous nursing program and an evening program. So this will give them opportunity. More importantly, the opportunity to go to professional conferences and to study abroad exposes our students to the professions that they are trying to become part of. And so
this directly relates to retention. What happened is I ran into Jim Murphy, who was in charge of enrollment, and said, wow, Medgar Evers is doing well compared to other colleges. We've made a major effort. Quick story, and Jay knows this. When I got to York, I've been to 3 colleges in the last 12 years. When I got to York, I was interviewed by the head of the newspaper. And at the end of it, I said, could I ask you a question? If you did one thing at York, what would you do to improve York? And she said, students come to class from 10 to 12, and they have classes from 2 to 4, and from 12 to 2, they go home. Now, York is like Medgar. A great percentage of the students live in the area. So the question is, how do you keep those students there? Because you learn, everybody knows, you learn as much outside the classroom as you learn inside the classroom. To think that this $35 fee has not been raised since 1994 for 22 years, and the next lowest fee is something like $55 now within it. So this is a way to provide all of the activities that Evelyn has talked about, and to get those students to recognize that Medgar is a place where they can stay and they can have a home, and they will stay for a second year, a third year, and a fourth year instead of transferring out.
Thank you.
One more question, Madam Chair. I notice here on this sheet, the fee is earmarked and broken down, but on our resolution it isn't. And I was wondering why that's different. Because you talked about some of those services that they're going to provide. Here on our resolution, it's outlined as all going to one area, as opposed to being broken down.
It's broken down.
Right.
Yeah, the referendum, it provides across the board increase to existing earmarkings. And then I laid out all the different areas that it's going to support.
Just for the record, I would like, if I can add, that
If you would like it on the
that
resolution.
reflected, yes,
So
please.
Roberta said it's in the resolution, it's in the narrative. But I know in order for the students to do this work, they had to have a chart that showed exactly where the
right.
money was going for all the other students. That's how they got the 775.
Roberta, would you like to add to this?
Sure, it's locally earmarked. If you look in the explanation section, the final paragraph on the first page has the local earmarkings.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, I see.
So, Donovan, is that sufficient for you, or I would assume that the breakdowns on the resolution, because it is a resolution, you kind of want the details
Yeah.
widely distributed, and as long as students have that information,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Thank you.
I would just add real quickly, related to voter turnout, it does raise a number of concerns, but the truth of the matter is, a lot of our campuses struggle because of the student profile that we serve. You'll see later on with the other student activity fees being proposed that the numbers aren't where we want them to be, I think, but it is a challenge for a lot of our colleges.
To what?
In terms of I think the concerns that Donovan
Yeah.
brought up were the number of students participating. And it isn't unique to Medgar's. There's a lot of our colleges that struggle with this piece.
Joseph?
I just want to add, Madam Chair, that if it would be possible for us to at least work a little bit harder to get this turnout moving up, because from my experience, the turnout has been low, slowly working on moving up, but I think we should have something in place that the campuses can work hard, getting the student engaged, getting them involved, letting them feel that they're part of this process. So I think we should start thinking of how the different campuses can get the students involved. Although we all work and go home, at least let them know that if the fee is going to go up, there's a reason why the fee is going to go up, and therefore they will be, at the end of the day, they will be paying whether they like it or not once it passes through the board and committee. So they should learn how to be involved with the process and have their voices heard. So I think it would be good if we can get the student involved, so at least the turnout can go a little bit higher. So I think we should start looking into that as well.
I think that is an excellent undertaking for USS.
Agreed.
Have a great point. Thank you.
But one thing I just want to add, yes, remember USS is made up of what is brought to us from the campuses. So whatever is brought to us from the campuses, that's what USS is made up. So just,
Point taken. Are there any other questions, issues, or concerns? Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion is approved. Thank you. Action item number 2. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Action item number 2, the approval of the Lehman College student activity fee increase, and Chancellor Sanchez.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we have this copy that went around the table with corrected version on top
Yes.
and red. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the increase was corrected on this. So this resolution represents an increase of $25 in the full-time and $12 in the part-time and $5 in the summer section student activity fees. A coalition of students spearheaded the Student Success Initiative to support programs that facilitate the growth and development of Lehman College students. The vote of the referendum was 609 in favor, 378 opposed, with 7.6% of the eligible students voting. This is the first increase since 2010. Vice President Jose Magdaleno, there he is, will represent the college and answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Well, first, I did it backwards the first way. So can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Great. Now, is there any discussion or questions for the increase for Lehman College activity fee? Yes, Donovan.
Welcome, Vice President. I would like to ask the same question following Medgar. What was the reasoning behind not being able to reach the 10% mark of votes on your campus?
Well, we made extensive efforts to inform students about the referendum. There were emails, posters, there were students that were campaigning to inform students about the referendum. I think they made yeoman's efforts. In fact, we have two of our student leaders here with us this afternoon. It's Tiffany Barker and Brenia de la Cruz. If you could please stand.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for your work. Yes.
Madam Chair, if it's okay with you, I would love to hear from the students, yes.
Students, could you please?
Come to the table.
That was Tiffany and Renia. Renia. Can you come forward? Here. Please. And Donovan, what specifically would you like to hear from the students?
Just if they believe, as student leaders representing that campus, that this resolution reflects the will of the students at that campus, that there seems to be a consensus that students at Lehman College are in favor of this increase.
Yes, most definitely.
That is correct.
We definitely agree that we reached.
And I commend you on your hard work
Thank
representing the students. No further questions.
Okay, thank you. So the students are all aware of what the activity fee includes and
Yes.
looking forward to paying more money and getting more things.
Yes, we went through a lot.
All right,
We went through a lot.
fantastic. Like Lehman. Okay. All right, are there any other questions or comments or? Yes.
Just quick, bring me up to speed on what you see the student activity fee will pay for?
We have a breakdown. It's covering. Can we see the?
It's actually covering several areas while my partner Tiffany is looking over. So we're looking at a child care center. We're looking at career services. Lehman College, the student population is a working and commuter class, and therefore even now the freshman orientation that's come in is largely a working class. So career services, for example, and wanting to expand their hours for consultations and resume building in career building and professional development is essential. And we also looked at other areas such as student emergencies, being that students do go through some type of obstacle, some way, somehow, during their obtainment of a degree. And therefore, even though we did get a lot of favorable responses, surely enough, probably other colleges I've experienced as well, we also had unfavored. So that's pretty obvious through the voting and the numbers that showed. Nonetheless, we did have a strong support from many groups, especially student clubs that were part of this campaign and part of the college. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that's very helpful, thank you.
There you go. I know, right? Did you want to add anything?
No, that's pretty professional, but that's fine.
Fantastic. Okay, are we ready? Let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Action item number 3, the approval of Brooklyn College student activity fee increase for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences Day Session. Vice Chancellor Sanchez.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution represents a $1 increase in the student activity fee paid by students in CLAS Day Session. It will support dedicated programming for the Veteran Student Organization. The vote on the referendum was 232 in favor, 98 opposed, and 75 abstentions, with 3.3% of eligible students voting. The fee was last increased in 2015. President Gould, I believe, is here, and Vice President Milga Morales, as well as Dean Ron Jackson, are here to represent the college.
Thank you. Welcome, President Gould.
Any questions?
Okay, first, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any questions or discussions on this item? Yes, Donovan.
Yes, Madam Chair.
I'm ready for that question.
Can we guess?
As you know, I'm here representing all the students, and what we will hear is that, you voted on this increase, and I didn't have my voice represented. So, please forgive me, but, we must scrutinize and make sure that everything.
We appreciate your
Thank you.
thoroughness.
So if there's any students here from Brooklyn College, we would love to have them speak on this.
Do we have a student from Brooklyn? Well, we have Joseph, but he's two-timing this.
Yeah, I think I will speak on it. Okay, pretty much, I think the reason why they decided to go the route in which they're going, especially with the Veterans Student Organization, once they decided to go on Memorial Day weekend event, just to show their support and for us to show our support, they have to actually go through a lot of channels just to raise funds. And we thought it would be in our best interest if they went to the student asking that if they really want this to happen, want to see them, showing our honor service to the veterans, it would be something that if they really think it should something that they should go forth, then they should speak to the student about it. And we got many calls, many emails that there's something that they wanted, and we did push for it, and there's the result we have in front of us.
I think I can speak specifically to your question about numbers of students voting. 1,700 students signed a petition, which at Brooklyn College is actually a fair number of students. The other thing is that we had a small turnout in voting overall this year because there were uncontested elections in CLAS. So since there were no candidates running against each other, and it was right before spring break, there wasn't much of a turnout. But I do think that there is on campus tremendous support for the vets, and I'm told by Dean Jackson that we have approximately 200 self-identified, but now that we have veteran students, but now that we have a better way of reporting, we anticipate that those numbers are going to go up simply because they will have an easier time self-identifying. So it is, I think, a reasonable request, and there's no doubt that the student veterans are asking every year across multiple offices to try to get the resources they need to participate in this very important Memorial Day event.
Are there any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Abstentions? That carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee.
Okay. Action item 4, approval of the Kingsborough Community College student activity fee. Guess who's up? Vice Chancellor
Great.
Sanchez.
Thank you. This resolution represents an increase of $25.85 in the full-time and $16.35 in the part-time student activity fee schedules. The vote on the referendum was 170 in favor, 53 opposed, with 1.86% of eligible students voting in a special election. The entire fee is allocated by the College Association. The last time this fee was increased was in 2002. Brian Mitra?
He's not here.
He's not here.
David Prevost.
David Prevost will be representing the college to answer any questions that the committee may have.
And
David,
I would suspect if there are any students present, you might want to come forward as well. Okay. And your title is?
I'm Assistant Director of Student Life.
Thank you so much. You know the question.
I do know the question. Our referendum turnout was 1.86%. We actually had to have ours in a special election prior to our normal elections because of our semester calendar. Our student government elections didn't happen until after the date everything had to be submitted. Our voter turnout for our regular election was 2.18%, which is the exact number is 37 students more voted in our campus-wide student government election than on our referendum. We did have students out there campaigning for it. We had students going around. We set up different stations with iPads, laptops. It's all an electronic vote, so they had the option to do it right from their phone. We had any student that came into our office, we showed them how to do it, allowed them the privacy to vote on their own. And traditionally our voter turnout is right around the 2% mark anyway, so 1.86 is a hair under what we usually experience, but not significantly under.
I have a question. At Kingsborough, I know you all created an app there, correct? Where it's like the Kingsborough app or whatever. Was this vote included in that app?
It was not. Right now the focus of that app is really students who need assistance with things like Metro cards, food, tuition payments, transportation. It's a way for students to reach out and get connected with those. It's not a campus-wide app yet. This year it was focused on first-year students.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Donovan?
Since this was done in a special election as opposed to a general election, was the student government, did they vote on this referendum that was raising the fee?
Yes, we worked with the student government through the whole process. They're actually the ones who came up with the dollar amount as the target for the referendum. And they're the ones who supported it. They did a lot of the legwork with getting out there, getting the signatures on the petition. We got, I think, close to 1,500 signatures on the petition this year.
Was there a formal vote by the body of the student government, or was it just?
Their formal vote was in the form of approving the amount to raise it to. We had that discussion with them. Do you want to raise it? What would the amount you'd like to raise it to be? So they did that vote back in, I believe, October. But they did have a formal vote for that.
Are there any other questions?
I just want to add what is being done. What steps is Kingsborough taking in order to raise the voting awareness on your campus?
We actually are looking at, if this increase passes, getting an app that we can use, which would be a campus-wide thing to promote student involvement. We would definitely lean on that as well. But we're doing more to get out there, figure out where our students are physically on campus, and put voting stations out there for them. This year we had one station set up in a very high traffic area we have on campus for our elections. We've already discussed how, regardless of what the vote is, we don't like this voter turnout. We're going to redouble efforts. We've already had conversations with our student government about adjusting their focus for next year as well, and bringing them back more towards being the student voice that they should be. I personally am a huge advocate for that. So we're working on getting them out there more, having them tell their peers, I'm representing you on a daily basis, I'm making decisions for you, you're paying these fees because students voted on them, making sure student government talks about what student government does to everybody.
I think it's safe to say that our campuses, all of our campuses, are unique in the sense that, we are CUNY, and CUNY in a lot of ways means that our students are of the university, but they're also of the city.
Right.
And so when there are, breaks and things, that can get them to leave that campus, they're leaving. And so I think that being said, CUNY-wide, we probably do need to look at some options and some alternative ways in which we can do this so that we don't have such low voter turnout. I mean, we don't expect 100%, 50%, 1%, whatever is certainly low. And having experts at the table like Joseph and Donovan and many of the other students that have been through our doors in the past 2 years, I think that a focus group of sorts would probably be something to explore, Chica. To kind of see how we can go about improving that, because better than anyone, what is it that keeps the students from being heard, and even knowing about some of these things. So that being said, I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion is approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Action item number 5, the approval of the CUNY School of Professional Studies student activity fee increase. May I have the representatives of that school to come forward? Yes.
We have commencement right now.
Oh, they have commencement. Okay, so you're
I'll
going
make
to. Okay,
comment- yeah, I'll
fantastic.
make comment on
Okay,
that.
yes.
So,
Vice-
and actually, it's the establishment of their student activities fee for the School of Professional Studies. So students at the School of Professional Studies held a referendum to establish a $25 student activity fee effective spring 2017. The vote was 100 in favor, 7 opposed, with 4.8% of the eligible students voting, and a 93% favorable vote. The local earmarkings were recommended by the School of Professional Studies Student Association Task Force. The fee will be used for health services, student services, career services, commencement, and student conference travel. Upon approval of the referendum, the election of the first group of student leaders will take place this coming fall. They'll be charged with drafting a constitution and bylaws, and will be the allocating body for the $23.55 campus-based portion of the fee. The Student Association will provide a platform for an elected group of student leaders to shape the kinds of experiences and events that will support and supplement the academic experience of SPS students. And then as Roberta mentioned, tonight is their commencement, so unfortunately they won't have a representative here. But the dean has expressed his strong support for this item, and Roberta Nord on my staff can try to answer any questions that this committee might have.
Fantastic.
Roberta, would you like to join us?
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So at this moment, School of Professional Studies isn't a standalone body, is that correct?
As an
It isn't a standalone institution?
It is.
It is. It's in the process of becoming one.
No, the student government is in the process of establishing itself.
So what will what will happen to this money while it's being collected, or is it going to be collected in September, or?
It's effective spring 2017, so they will spend the fall semester preparing for this.
Okay. So this is down the pike, and by the time that it's collected, everything needed for student government will already be in place.
Okay.
Thanks.
That was gonna be my question.
Sorry.
No, great. I just wanted to know if the student government was gonna be in elections in the fall, because
They're
it's
working to do that, yes.
wonderful, thank you.
Okay.
Constitution,
Everything mine's thinking.
beautiful, beautiful.
No.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Great, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion is approved. Thank you very much and congratulations. All right, action item number 6. The approval of the amendment to the board guidelines for eligibility for services as members and officers of student government and university student senate and to other student leadership positions. Vice Chancellor.
Yes, so this resolution addresses some of the areas in which the current guidelines were silent, such as the length of service for graduate students and law students. It creates a limit of 2 years for graduate students and a 3-year limit for law students to serve in student government and/or any other student leadership positions. It will also prevent students from serving in leadership positions at 2 different institutions concurrently.
That was a problem?
Yeah,
Yes.
that believe it or not, that
All right,
was a challenge.
this is a good motion. Are there any questions?
Yes,
I think we have Roberta and Dan
Yeah.
here who've been working with USS and others on this policy, or these amendments. If you'd like to join us, please.
Well, welcome, Dan. Welcome back, Roberta.
I'm not sure if they all were included. Are we doing that? Firstly, I just want to thank the office for the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and General Counsel for including us in this policy change early. We sent this policy, we reviewed it, and we went back and forth, had a meeting. If you can kind of talk about some of the recommendations that were made and included based on our discussion.
Sure.
Thank you.
So based on the discussion with USS, some of the recommendations they made that were included here was in looking at changing the academic eligibility for student leaders. They felt it was unfair for a college to be able to change it by itself, so they recommended that we include a provision that the college had to put any new changes going forward to a vote that had to first go by either the student government or the entire student body, and then be recommended by the chancellor. And we included that here, and we did. They wanted it. They didn't include language for it going forward. We wanted to make sure that what was in place stayed in place, so we added that here in section 2. And there was some discussion back and forth about creating complete term limits for graduate students, whether or not we wanted to add a total of 5 years or leave it open-ended. We figured it was fair to give them the same amount of time that we gave to the undergraduate students, so we gave them the same language and the same 5-year limitation.
So I thank you for that. I just also want to add that, what we've experienced over the last couple of years is that there's some issues on the campus level with regards to student government elections and what the eligibility process is. And I recall last year, Dan shared with us some recommendations that was shared with the campuses, and they were to follow these recommendations on how to run the elections. And it seems those things weren't shared with the student population at the campus, and we kind of felt that what's the point of our offices collaborating on this if there's not going to be no positive outcome. So now we're recommending that this be a requirement for the campuses to give to every student so that the students are aware of the process and there's not these issues, so we have to end up doing another election or a student feels disenfranchised from their campus.
If I can comment, this is, I think, a very important point that Donovan's bringing up. We've already talked about the need for some training that needs to take place with the new elected officials and kind of going forward so people understand the new policy, particularly in preparation for when elections gear up to get ready with the advisory committees that kind of oversee the process. So we'll be doing that this year.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion carries. All right. We'll give the audience 30 seconds to leave. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay. We are now on section 2 of our agenda, which is information items. We are going to start with information item B, freedom of expression and expressive conduct. General Counsel and Senior Vice Chancellor Frederick Schaefer and Vice Chancellor Frank Sanchez will provide an overview of the proposed draft policy.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We have the latest version around the table.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. First, let me explain why this is an information item. It's obviously a very important policy item, and because of that, the Chancellor and Chairman of the Board determined that it would best serve to have it presented to the Executive Committee, which is meeting today, particularly because it cuts across all constituencies of the university, students, faculty, and staff. And so the Executive Committee later today will be taking up this item and voting whether to put it on the board calendar for the June meeting. The policy itself is really appropriate at this particular moment because recent events have again raised the issue of whether and to what extent there are permissible or appropriate limits to freedom of expression on a university campus. As you know, in recent months there have been a number of issues with strong emotional resonance that have roiled college campuses across the country and have led some participants to argue that the speech of their adversaries constitutes bullying, harassment, hate speech, or is otherwise beyond the scope of protection for free speech or academic freedom. CUNY doesn't really have a policy that specifically addresses this issue. Obviously, the Henderson rules constitute certain limits on conduct in connection with protests. But the Chancellor thought that this was sort of a good time to establish a policy that would fill this gap with due consideration for the purpose and nature of the university and the appropriate balance of interests recognized by the First Amendment and academic freedom. The policy, as you see, contains some very important general principles succinctly stated in Section 1. They review what's really already in the Henderson rules in Section 2 of examples of prohibited conduct. Section 3 deals with sort of guidelines for demonstrations. Section 4, the procedures for handling disruptive demonstrations. Section 5 deal with the topics of leafleting, tabling, and posting of information. Section 6 deals with media access to the university facilities. 7 on the publication of this policy, and Section 8 deals with training. So that's sort of the outlines of the policy, and I think the best way to proceed is just for me to stop at this point and deal with any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Yes, Don.
Thank you, Council. It's again.
Oh, before you begin, I'm sorry. I should point out that there's been extensive input. Thank you. Before you thank me, I want to point it out. We have been back and forth, and the reason why you have a more updated version on the table before you is because there has been continuous consultation with the University Student Senate and the University Faculty Senate, and every couple of days there's a new draft.
I heard they were pretty thorough.
And
every couple of hours.
So, sorry. Now you can go.
So we thank the Senior Vice Chancellor for listening and providing the document in time for us to get some feedback. One of the major concerns I think that we did have is we didn't have enough time to share this with a broader base of students, what we believe the policy will cover, which is all the students in the university, and that was one of our main concerns that we brought to the attention. The other part was the procedural issue, is that it's going to the executive committee and not being voted on by the Student Affairs Committee, which normally these type of policies have gone to traditionally. But we understand the purview of the chair of the board and the chancellor. However, representing the students, I do not agree or support that process because I believe that process excludes the faculty vote and excludes the student vote because they do not sit on the executive committee. However, in nature, we do support the action to put together a policy to protect the university.
Thank you.
Yes, we would just piggyback on that. We want to thank the Vice Chancellor for being enormously receptive to our concerns, and working with the University Student Senate on this was also a great pleasure. But we just want to highlight the fact that while we're extremely grateful that the amendment that we've seen in this third section that specifically indicates that there would be a discussion in an open meeting about any designation of an area for expressive activities, we see a slight irony in that being introduced at the very same time that this is not being considered for a vote in this particular committee, which is the sort of open review that we feel is very favorably and felicitously affirmed by the wording of this policy. It's just, there's an incongruence there that we just want to express some dismay about.
Yeah, let me address the procedural point, because I hadn't. The motive here was not at all to disenfranchise anybody. We've had policies in the past that cut across different constituencies, particularly students and faculty.
Sure.
And we have on occasion brought it to one committee as an action item and the other committee as an information item, or the other way around, depending on where we thought the weight of interest lay.
Mm-hmm.
This one was considered so important, and the issue is so central to what's going on across the country these days that, as I said, the chancellor and the chairman thought it was appropriate for the executive committee. Not because of who votes on that committee, because the executive committee is not going to adopt it in substance, because if it did, since the executive committee has the authority of the full board, it wouldn't get to the full board, and that wasn't our intent at all.
Right.
Our intent was to have an open discussion. All members of the board are free to attend the executive committee, including those members, student and faculty representatives, who are not otherwise on the executive committee. And the conversation really was intended to be an open conversation, with the vote then just being whether it's ripe to go to the board and it should be put on the board calendar. So I understand that as it, that the student and faculty trustee don't vote on the executive committee, and until you just pointed that out, I hadn't really thought about it. That was not the intent. The intent was to have an open, broad-ranging discussion and ultimately let the full board, where both representatives are present, of course only the student votes, the faculty trustee doesn't, but to have the full board consider it. So it really was an effort to open up the process rather than close it down. But I do understand now that in that one respect, you're missing a vote.
We're just thinking, sort of holistically
Yes.
about how this works. I mean, one of the reasons why I and my colleagues were so anxious to make sure that there was some discussion in an open meeting in something like a Senate body that would be covered by Perez was specifically so that there was total transparency about things that can be very controversial, where the elaboration of a rationale can be a critical way to forestall certain kinds of sense of injustice and you know, unfortunate procedural developments. So this is sort of more of same. I tend to think the more transparency, the more openness, the better.
Well, there can hardly be greater transparency than our executive committee meeting, which is televised on CUNY TV. And of course, although there isn't a vote on the substance at that time, the faculty representative, or indeed other faculty members, are really welcome to participate in the conversation that's going to take place in a half hour or an hour.
Another piece of the policy that's concerning is that it doesn't lend a hand to provide the campus structure as to how to deal with some of these occurrences, these events. It's ambiguous, giving them a lot of autonomy, and one of the concerns that we have as students is that you have completely different policies dealing with these issues on various campuses. And what we've seen in the past is it ends to a disciplinary issue being brought to the board because one campus may handle an issue this way and another campus may handle it that way. As a student position, we kind of wanted some uniformity across the university in dealing with something that's so vital and core to our university.
Well, Donovan, the intent of this is to create that uniformity by having a university policy, which we didn't have before. Now, we left open some local variations, particularly because different campuses have different physical layouts and will want to adopt different kinds of time, place, and manner regulations. But the policy is very clear that any local regulation in this area has to be consistent with the uniform board policy. And I think the general principles, really set forth in quite strong terms the First Amendment interests that need to be protected above all else. So I think we will find that the variations, to the extent they exist across campuses, will be minor and will have to be consistent with the overall policy.
Are there any more questions? Any other items for discussion on this topic?
One last thing, I do want to acknowledge the point that this comes up, as is often true in the final meetings of the board, around exam time for the students. We've been working on this, and drafts have been floating around for a number of months, but I do acknowledge that there's nothing like the prospect of final exams to make you feel a little jammed up when it comes to the policies being considered by the board. It was unavoidable, but I'm sorry for it.
Anything they write, we have to read.
I've taught and I understand that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for that. We are going to move on to information item C, the report on the Baruch College Student Center Building Fund. Vice Chancellor Sanchez and Vice President for Finance and Administration at Baruch College, Catherine Cobb, will bring the committee on Baruch College. Will brief the committee on this item.
Great.
Is she?
So I'll give, yes, she can join us. I'll give a quick summary. So on June 27th, 2011, this committee passed a resolution increasing the student activity fee for undergraduates at Baruch College by $30 each semester for the purpose of a student center building fund. The resolution further stated that in the event that in 5 years' time the acquisition of such a facility has not made satisfactory progress, a determination by the allocating committee, College Association, the fee shall be discontinued and all the funds accumulated shall be administered by the Baruch College Association. The college initially pursued several sites in the neighborhood, but the offers were not accepted. The college is currently in serious negotiations to release 6,000 square feet of space at a local site. An architectural feasibility study was conducted and determined that the space was suitable for the intended use as a student center with infrastructure modifications. The college has allocated about $5 million in fees for this project. In addition to the student activity fees collected thus far, the college received $3.5 million donation from a Baruch College alum to support the project. The lease is in negotiation. It would not be appropriate to release the exact site. However, we have reviewed this plan with the Office of General Counsel, and we believe that the college is on track with this project and that it should become a reality. And any questions can be directed to the Vice President of College.
Thank you for Sure. Are there any questions? Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Vice Chancellor, are you requesting now that the board allow the campus to continue collecting the fee in order to acquire a building?
Yes, for this project for the students, absolutely.
Okay. For
continuation of
for yeah, I would request that be brought forth in a motion, as it seems that my understanding of the resolution is that it has expired as of 2016. I'd be willing to support that extension, be it a vote of the board.
In a formal.
Yes, yes.
And for how long?
And
well, that would be.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, if we were to, and I got a term sheet last Friday, and we'll be moving very quickly to close the deal, but there will be there will be ongoing costs associated with the acquisition of the project. So the fees will be needed to support, otherwise I will not be able to close this real estate transaction. And I have, just to follow up on it, I have been working in very close collaboration with the Student Building Committee Fund, which includes student elected representatives as detailed in the resolution. I've also been keeping the College Association Board fully briefed on this project. We meet, I brief them very regularly, and I have full support from them as well as the Building Committee Fund.
So it's my understanding. Please.
The original resolution only called for a discontinuance if there wasn't sufficient.
Yes.
Made. So
I would move to grant Baruch College until December of the end of the year.
I would not be able to execute any real estate transaction on the basis of that. The only way that I will be able to move forward with a successful real estate transaction with this project would be if I were able to show the other side that I had a continuing source of funds. Otherwise, they will not. I will not be able to meet what is required to successfully complete, which is what the resolution asked me to do.
When it's my understanding, since the students voted on this and established this through a referendum, it's an established student fee. And so the only way, as I understand it, that we could change this is that, in fact, the students would set in place another
correct
kind of vote to change then the fee in another resolution, but it's an established fee. We put in the caveat that if progress had not been made after 5 years, then we would have the latitude to then discontinue, but our sense is they've made progress in alignment with the fee that was approved.
And I'm kind of saying it looks like sufficient progress hasn't been made because a building hasn't been acquired, and I'm willing to support an extension until they acquire it. You know, my question was, how long would that take? Is the board comfortable with continuing that?
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong,
of course.
You're working with the facilities as well on this?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I'm working with CUNY Facilities Design and Construction. They're will be helping me get a construction manager. We'll be using one of the construction managers. I'm also, I don't want to get into too much details about the partner on the other side, but I can say that the partner on the other side is very substantial partner, but they also have certain requirements.
And not to interrupt you, but
no, not at all.
Yeah. and I only bring that up because
yes.
That's my next meeting. And I think that I understand where you're going with this, but I think that the times in New York are such that we can't put a timeline on when we're going to find property in this lovely city of ours. So I think that to not put total restraints on Baruch College here, I think that what we probably need to do is to out of committee, come together with facilities and USS and Ms. Cobb and talk out what are some of the other concerns and things that you all have, so that we can then propose something reasonable within the facilities committee, so that everybody is heard and nobody's on the spot.
And this is not the first site that they've tried to work with.
Right.
To create the student center.
Yeah.
So we're talking 5 years. It's
Yes. Perhaps as a friendly amendment, I wonder if it would be appropriate, if this is a formal item in the facilities committee, that there isn't another information item in this committee providing an update in terms of the status and the progress. I think that's reasonable, since it is student activities fees and the intent is to build a building. There should be an update back to this committee. Maybe come December, or a 6-month time frame to really show substantive progress.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I know a couple of people who can give you an update. Okay. Are there any other questions on this item? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are now on information item D, the final item, which is the Vice Chancellor's report. Though it seems as though you've been reporting all through.
It feels that way. It's a very short report, a number of quick updates. This past month, we held our 7th annual CUNY Accessibility Conference. This has been incredibly successful conference over the years. 7 years ago, I think they probably started out with 30 to 40 people in the basement of the Graduate Center. This year, it had to be capped off at over 300, and still more people wanted to attend, but it's been incredibly successful. Executive Vice Chancellor Ellen Dobrin delivered a wonderful conference keynote presentation, and it was just, again, another very, very successful CUNY Assistive Technology conference. National Mental Health Awareness Month was this past month. Healthy CUNY, they created a video to increase awareness of our CUNY counseling centers, which was sent out via social media during the week of May 2nd to start out the National Mental Health Awareness Month. And our staff centrally, the Central Office of Student Affairs, work very closely with the School of Public Health to do a wonderful video. We're hoping to show it tonight, but ran tight on time. But if you get a chance, go online. It's really a very, very good video presentation. Related to that is, of course, Thrive NYC, and in collaboration with the New York City Mayor's Office and the CUNY School of Public Health, the following participating colleges have been selected for the pilot of the digital platform and peer support to increase awareness of mental health and wellness at CUNY. I want to give special thanks to John Jay College, Manhattan Community College, Medgar Evers, Brooklyn College, Kingsborough Community College, Lehman College, and Bronx Community College for participating in this initiative and unique project. Veteran Affairs will be working with American corporate partners to promote a new mentorship program for women veterans seeking professional development and employment. For more information, you can contact our Veteran Affairs Coordinator and University Director, Lisa Beata. And then finally, the CUNY Sexual Violence Campus Climate Survey closed Thursday, the 21st. I want to give thanks to campuses and their work to do outreach and work on response rates across the university. Let me see what else here. And then lastly, since this is my last meeting, I want to thank a number of folks. After 5.5 years working at the City University of New York, it was just time to get back to a campus. Many of you know, prior to coming to CUNY, I worked on college campuses, large, small, public, private, urban, rural institutions. And after 5.5 years of understanding system higher education, it was really time to get back and do the work that I love with students and with faculty and with staff at an institution. I want to thank certainly the Chancellery for giving me the opportunity to work at truly remarkable, an amazing university in the capacity as the Vice Chancellor. I also want to thank the presidents. Many of them, and probably 3/4 of them, I've had a chance to spend either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and they've been so willing to share their expertise and their knowledge and wisdom of running higher education institutions. It really has been an incredible learning experience for me. I want to thank all of the vice presidents of student affairs for the outstanding work they do every day in trying to provide the policies and services and programs to truly benefit students and their success. The Central Office of Student Affairs staff, thank you for your tireless work coordinating and supporting and working with our 24 colleges to help them be their very best in serving our students. And certainly, I need to thank our students. This experience here has given me a perspective about how we support our students, but a perspective in terms of the inspiration that students can give administrators. I'm a better professional because the students I had a chance to meet here at CUNY. And my dad once told me when I was trying to make a decision about a job, he goes, well, you never stay there because of the students. And this was odd coming from my dad because we had foster care students in our home. We had study abroad students in our home. I mean, he was the student-centered type of counselor guy in high school. But he said, never stay because of the students, because wherever you go, students need you there. And so it's been a privilege to work here at the City University in New York. And I'm excited to go to Rhode Island College and continue this very important work in providing access and opportunity to the most deserving students in this country. And so thank you very, very much, and thank you to this committee for the wonderful work you've been doing, certainly in the 5.5 years that I've been at CUNY.
Well, we thank you for your work as well, and it's been an honor and a privilege working with you. You will be missed, but you are going on to bigger and better things, and perhaps it'll give us a reason to come visit Rhode Island.
Love it. I love it.
Joseph.
Yes, you'll be missed. Sure, and I want to take this moment to thank you on behalf of the University Student Senate. For the past 2 years in my leadership, we've worked, we've butted heads, but we've always come to a conclusion, and you'll be missed. We appreciate all your hard work as well as your staff at CUNY. So you'll be missed. We love you, and we'll continue to support you. We know that you do well at Rhode Island, and the student needs you there as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason.
All right. Are there any other comments?
I just wanted to thank Vice Chancellor Sanchez on behalf of the University Faculty Senate, particularly my colleagues on the Committee at Student Affairs. We were very, very gratified that we seemed to be at a meeting of the minds about so many of the services our students needed, and we've always been very grateful for your care and interest in making sure that every student gets to succeed at CUNY.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions? This meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.